WandaVision. WandaVision is an American television miniseries created by Jac Schaeffer for the streaming service Disney+, based on the Marvel Comics characters Wanda Maximoff/Scarlet Witch and Vision. Set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, it shares continuity with the films of the franchise, and takes place after the events of the film Avengers, Endgame, 2019. WandaVision is produced by Marvel Studios, with Schaeffer serving as head writer, and Matt Shakman directing.Elizabeth. Olsen and Paul Bettany reprise their respective roles as Wanda Maximoff and Vision from the film series, while Debra Jo Rupp, Melamed, Kathryn Hahn, Teyonah Parris, Randall Park, Dennings, and Evan Peters also star. By September 2018, Marvel Studios was developing a number of limited series for Disney Plus centered on supporting characters from the MCU films, such as Wanda and Vision, with Olsen and Bettany returning. Schaeffer was hired in January 2019, the series was officially announced that April, and Shakman joined in August. The series pays homage to past sitcoms, with Wanda and Vision living in a reality created by the former that takes them through different decades of television tropes. Filming began in Atlanta, Georgia in November 2019, before production halted in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Production resumed in Los Angeles in September 2020, and ended that November.WandaVision premiered with its first 2 episodes on January 15, 2021, and ran for 9 episodes, concluding on March 5. It is the first series in Phase 4 of the MCU. The series received praise from critics for its sitcom settings and tropes, dark tonal shifts, and the performances of Olsen and Bettany. Premise. Set 3 weeks after the events of Avengers, Endgame, 2019, Wanda Maximoff and Vision are living an idyllic suburban life in the town of Westview, New Jersey, trying to conceal their true natures. As they begin to enter new decades and encounter television tropes, the couple suspects that things are not as they seem. A cast and characters. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff/Scarlet Witch: an Avenger, who can harness chaos magic, engage in telepathy and telekinesis, and alter reality. Olsen said the series brings the character more in line with the comic book version, including depicting her mental illness, and introducing the Scarlet Witch moniker that was not previously used in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. Executive producer Kevin Feige added that the series explores the extent and origin of Wanda's powers. Olsen felt her ownership of Wanda was strengthened during development of the series, which allowed her to explore new parts of the character's personality, such as her humor and sassiness. She was thrilled that WandaVision focuses on Wanda rather than telling her story through everyone else's storylines, as in the films, and was sold on joining the series when Feige mentioned specific Scarlet Witch comic storylines that inspired WandaVision. Olsen was influenced by Mary Tyler Moore, Elizabeth Montgomery, and Lucille Ball for her performance. Michael Russell portrays a young Wanda. Paul Bettany as Vision: an android and former Avenger created using the artificial intelligences Jarvis and Ultron, as well as the Mind Stone, who was killed in the film Avengers: Infinity War, 2018. Bettany portrays a new version of the character created by Wanda within her reality from the part of the Mind Stone that lives in Wanda, and is the embodiment of her sadness, hope, and love. Given this, Bettany described this Vision as decent and honorable, and for whom he was influenced by the performances of Dick Van Dyke and Hugh Laurie. Bettany also plays the original character, referred to as the Vision, who is reassembled and reactivated by SWORD. Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division. That version has an all-white appearance similar to when the comic book character was resurrected with an all-white body and without his memories and emotions. Bettany differentiated the two versions by portraying the Vision as familiar and intimidating at the same time. Debra Jo Rupp as Sharon Davis, a Westview resident and wife of Todd, who plays Mrs. Hart, Wanda and Vision's neighbor, in the fictional WandaVision sitcom. Melamed as Todd Davis: a Westview resident and husband of Sharon, who plays Arthur Hart, Wanda and Vision's neighbor and Vision's boss, in the fictional WandaVision sitcom. Kathryn Hahn as Agatha Harkness: a witch, who masquerades as Agnes, Wanda and Vision's nosy neighbor, within the fictional WandaVision sitcom. Hahn described Agnes as the neighbor that won't get off their couch at the end of the night and is always in their business. Hahn was fascinated by the jolts of adrenaline and humanity the MCU provided, and the fact it had a gasp of human magic. Hahn likened Agatha's relationship with Wanda to Antonio Salieri's with Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, believing it was maddening to Agatha to see magic come so naturally to Wanda after she had spent centuries studying it. Agatha was originally conceived as more of a mentor figure to Maximoff, before the writers shifted her to be more antagonistic, since a proper antagonist would serve the structure of the series really well. Although this shift was made, Agatha still retained qualities of teaching and mentorship for Maximoff. Teyonah Parris as Monica Rambeau, the daughter of Air Force pilot Maria Rambeau and a captain in SWORD, who first introduces herself to Wanda and Vision as Geraldine within the fictional WandaVision sitcom. She has a toughness and an ability to be a woman in a male-dominated world. As a child, she looked up to her mother's friend and colleague Carol Danvers/Captain Marvel. Head writer Jac Schaeffer's initial pitch for the series had a different character in Rambeau's role, but she was excited to use Rambeau instead when it was discovered that she was available for the series, with co-executive producer Mary Livano adding Rambeau's inclusion in the series was a discovery during development that became really enriched in the show. The series shows what Rambeau has seen and done since her introduction in Captain Marvel 2019, where she was portrayed as a child by Akira Akbar. Parris used Akbar's performance as the starting point for her own, and took Monica's relationships with her mother and Danvers into account. Randall Park as Jimmy Woo, an FBI agent working with SWORD, who previously was the parole officer of Scott Lang/Ant-Man. Park felt introducing Woo using close-up magic, something he was trying to perfect in Ant-Man and the Wasp 2018, quickly showed the character's development since that film, indicating that he was getting better at multiple things and was being assigned to larger cases. Park was taught the magic trick by a magician and spent several days perfecting it for the series. Kat Dennings as Darcy Lewis, an astrophysicist working with SWORD, who previously interned for Jane Foster and befriended Thor, returning to the role for the first time since Thor: The Dark World 2013. Dennings felt Lewis would not have changed much as a person, but would be older and wiser after going to school to receive her doctorate in astrophysics. Additionally, Dennings felt the character has more confidence in herself now that she is viewed as the boss, which she never was in the films. Evan Peters as Ralph Boner, a Westview resident under Agatha's control, posing as Wanda's twin brother Pietro, who was killed in the film Avengers: Age of Ultron 2015, portrayed by Aaron Taylor Johnson. This was a nod to Peter's role as Peter Maximoff in 20th Century Fox's X-Men film series. Schaeffer and Livano were eager to bring Pietro back in the series, and decided to take advantage of its notions of what's real and what's not, and performance, and casting, and audience, and fandom by having the character be recast within the fictional WandaVision program. Schaeffer noted that this plays on the sitcom tropes of recasting characters without much fuss, and also of having a relative arrive in town, who stirs things up with the family, and worked for WandaVision on a meta level. Shakman compared Peters appearing in the series to Ben Kingsley playing Trevor Slattery in Iron Man 3, 2013, who poses as the Mandarin, which was a way to play with expectations. Schaeffer likened Peters' performance to a mixture of Jessica Katsopolis from Full House, Nick Moore from Family Ties, and Joey Tribbiani from Friends. Recurring residents of Westview include Asif Ali as Abhilash Tandon, who plays Vision's co-worker, Norm; David Lendl as Harold Proctor, who plays Phil Jones; Amos Lick as a pizza delivery man cast as Dennis, the mailman/delivery man; Ithamar Enriquez and Victoria Blade as residents cast as the commercial man and woman actors; Emma Caulfield Ford as Sarah Proctor, Harold's wife, who plays Dottie Jones, a skeptical mom who rules the neighborhood with an iron fist and poison smile; and David Payton as John Collins, who plays Herb. Josh Stamberg also recurs as SWORD acting director Tyler Hayward, along with Alan Heckner and Selena Andrews as SWORD agents Monty and Rodriguez, and Julian Hilliard and Jet Klein as Wanda and Vision's sons Billy and Tommy, respectively. Additional guest stars include Jolene Purdy as Isabel Matsuda, who plays Wanda and Vision's neighbor Beverly; frequent MCU stuntman Zach Henry as Franklin, a SWORD agent who enters Wanda's reality as a beekeeper; Randy Oglesby as Stan Nielsen, the Doctor in Westview; Wesley Kimmel and Sidney Thomas as the boy and girl in the commercials; and Kate Forbes as Agatha's mother, Ivanora Harkness. Ilana Kohanchi and Danny are portray Wanda's parent Serena and Olek Maximoff, respectively, while Gabriel Gurevich plays a young version of her brother Pietro. Episodes. Production. Development. By September 2018, Marvel Studios was developing several limited series for its parent company Disney's streaming service, Disney+, to be centered on supporting characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, films, who had not starred in their own films, such as Wanda Maximoff. Actors who portrayed the characters in the films were expected to reprise their roles for the limited series, including Elizabeth Olsen as Maximoff. The series for Disney Plus were expected to be 6 to 8 episodes each, have a hefty budget rivaling those of a major studio production, and be produced by Marvel Studios rather than Marvel Television, which produced previous MCU television series. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige was believed to be taking a hands-on role in each limited series development, focusing on continuity of story with the films and handling the actors who would be reprising their roles from the films. By the end of October, Paul Bettany's Vision was expected to play a significant role in the series, which would focus on the relationship between Maximoff and Vision. In the following months, the titles Vision and the Scarlet Witch and the Vision and Scarlet Witch were both reported for the series. Jac Schaeffer was hired in January 2019 as head writer of the series after previously writing for the Marvel Studios films Captain Marvel 2019 and Black Widow 2021. Schaeffer was set to write the first episode and executive produce the series. That April, Disney and Marvel officially announced the series as WandaVision, and Matt Shakman was hired to direct and serve as an executive producer in August. Feige also executive produces alongside Marvel Studios' Louis D'Esposito and Victoria Alonso. The title was suggested by Feige, and Schaeffer insisted that it be kept as she felt it was the perfect title for the series. There was some backlash when the title was announced as it was perceived to be the silliest title possible, but Schaeffer felt viewers would change their minds once they saw the series. Feige said the series would tell the story of Maximoff and Vision, show what Maximoff can do, explore who Vision is, and introduce the comic book name, Scarlet Witch, to the MCU in ways that are entirely fun, entirely funny, somewhat scary, and will have repercussions for the entire future of Phase 4 of the MCU. He added that viewers would not need to be familiar with the MCU to understand the series, but there would be a wealth of rewards for those who have seen all the films and knew the plans for Phase 4. Schaeffer was excited to use the series to give social commentary along with a very large story of character and brief. The series consists of 9 episodes, initially presented in a half-hour comedy series format. The first 3 episodes are each around 30 minutes long, with the remaining episodes having more varied runtimes, totaling approximately 6 hours of content. WandaVision originally had 10 episodes planned, before being reworked to 9 episodes, to make the rhythm work better. Episode titles for the series are named after common phrases that were traditionally featured in promotions or the opening credits of television series. During development, the budget for each episode was reported to be as much as $25 million. Writing. Schaeffer received comics material and an outline of what Marvel Studios hoped to accomplish with the series, in order for her to help shape their ideas into a coherent structure. Feige came up with the idea of having Maximoff and Vision living in a fantasy world of suburban bliss based on his love of sitcoms and how they can be used to escape from reality. Schaeffer helped figure out what that meant for the characters. Feige was visually inspired by Mike Del Mundo's Norman Rockwell meets Leave It to Beaver covers for the comic book series The Vision by Tom King and Gabriel Hernandez Walter, and pitched the series to Olsen and Bettany as a combination of that comic book and the House of M storyline by Brian Michael Bendis and Olivia Coipel. Other inspiration was taken from The Scarlet Witch, Witch's Road trade paperback, the Avengers Disassembled storyline by Bendis and David Finch that preceded House of M, as well as The Vision and The Scarlet Witch, including the run by Bill Mantlo and Rick Leonardi, and the run by Steve Englehart and Richard Howell, and the Vision Quest storyline from West Coast Avengers by John Byrne. Feige, Schaeffer, Shakman, and co-executive producer Mary Livanos dedicated themselves to nailing down the series' irreverent tone. Schaeffer was inspired by the MCU film Thor, Ragnarok, 2017, as well as the Marvel Comics-based series Legion, which she felt had broken the mold of what Marvel stories could be and were daring, original, and bananas, which she felt allowed WandaVision to also be unique and different. WandaVision takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame, 2019, and directly sets up Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2022, in which Olsen reprises her role as Maximoff. Schaeffer said Feige handled all the connections between the various MCU projects, but she and Shakman did have conversations with the creative teams of Spider-Man, No Way Home, 2021, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as well as Marvel Studios' other Disney Plus series, to discuss the connections between stories and to ensure an effortless handoff from WandaVision to the films. The series features a fictional sitcom called Wanda Vision, and has been described as part classic sitcom, part Marvel epic by Phage, super avant-garde and weird by Bettany, a full-on action movie mixed with sitcoms by fellow actor Teyonah Parris, and a series that is marrying epic superhero action with small-town sitcom silliness by Livanos. Livanos added that the series would take advantage of audience expectations for sitcoms and deviate from the family sitcom structure in some episodes, while making the audience question where WandaVision fits into the MCU timeline. Schaeffer hired 8 writers for the series writers' room, which were half men, half women, and several people of color, because of her belief that stories are better the more perspectives you have. Megan McDonnell served as a staff writer on the series, before being promoted to story editor. Many of the writers had previous television experience, which Schaeffer used to help craft each episode within the larger narrative, as one of the initial challenges was figuring out how to tell the story in the long-form structure of a limited series rather than a film. Schaeffer said the series could never have been a film because it needed to be established with a true television aesthetic for the sitcom scenes before that could be broken. She found the central idea of Wanda being responsible for the series' sitcom reality to be a simple concept, and felt it would be more compelling if it was revealed as a mystery first. The writers decided to do this with Wanda and Vision through the first 3 episodes, before the 4th episode retold those events from a real-world perspective to provide answers for viewers. When devising these early episodes, Schaeffer was concerned about how long they would be able to remain in the sitcom reality without needing to reveal parts of the larger mystery. Following the enormous info dump in the 4th episode, Schaeffer explained that there would still be more to learn about Wanda's perspective through the rest of the series, but she hoped that providing answers then would help the audience experience the rest of the series as an emotional and a psychological journey, rather than a sneaky mystery the whole way. Shakman stated the entire series was about Maximoff processing grief and how she can learn to overcome it, with Schaeffer relating to Wanda and her grief. A grief counselor was consulted on the series. Schaeffer compared the final series to a multi-issue comic book, and said it remained very close to her original pitch, which was starting the series in a grounded sitcom with Twilight Zone fraying edges, followed by a bottle episode to explain the events of the early episodes, leading to episodes featuring both elements until the penultimate episode explores Wanda's history and the mystery of the how and the why of the anomaly, concluding in a big finale with the spectacle of an MCU film. The pitch was also structured to follow the stages of grief. Shakman and Schaeffer said the series was a love letter to the golden age of television, though it pays tribute to many eras of American television. They focused on family sitcoms over other types, such as workplace sitcoms, because the family aspect kept the series centered, and because given Maximoff's experiences, she is searching for a family. Schaeffer and Shakman studied past sitcoms to learn their trappings and styles, while avoiding tropes from older sitcoms that would not be acceptable in a modern series. Schaeffer, Shakman, and Phage spoke with Dick Van Dyke, the star of the eponymous 1960s sitcom, to learn about the making of that series. Other sitcoms that inspired the series include I Love Lucy, My 3 Sons, Father Knows Best, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, Bewitched, The Brady Bunch, Family Ties, Out of This World, Malcolm in the Middle, Modern Family, and The Office. Meta references are made to Full House, which starred Olsen's older sisters Mary-Kate and Ashley. At one point, an episode of the series was based on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which would have explored Maximoff's work-life balance. Olsen felt which sitcom decade was being explored, and the tropes from that decade were specifically chosen to connect to where the characters were in the larger story. The fictional sitcom features fake commercials that are slightly nefarious, including promotion for the organization Hydra, which Phage said were part of the truths of the show beginning to leak out. He felt that new MCU viewers would see these as strange versions of commercials from the different sitcom eras, while viewers well versed in the MCU would be able to see connections in the commercials to past events. Shakman said the commercials were a way to present Maximoff's history and be a thematic addition to the series, and felt their content and inclusion were open to interpretation, while Schaeffer said they were tied to Maximoff's subconscious and the MCU in this open-ended way. Several commentators believed the commercials were analogies for traumatic events in Maximoff's life. Schaeffer acknowledged this speculation about the Easter eggs in the commercials, while also highlighting their role in giving the series a structure and rhythm that is very much part of the fabric of the sitcom aesthetic.
At various points in the development process, the commercials had a little bit more of an agenda and a function in the plot. Schaeffer compared her work on the series to the film Black Widow, saying WandaVision would be the polar opposite to that film's style of aggressive, visceral action. Shakman and Schaeffer watched all the existing footage of Maximoff and Vision, including footage that did not make it into the previous MCU films, such as unused dailies. While exploring this footage, Schaeffer was drawn to mundane character moments, such as Maximoff and Vision cooking paprikash in Captain America: Civil War, 2016, and the two enjoying their time in Scotland in Avengers: Infinity War, 2018. Schaeffer said there was a wonder and sincerity to the pair, and felt their family dynamic within a sitcom setting would result in a calm, warm feeling despite the ridiculous premise. She found the pair appealing because they are both outsiders who find each other. They are both different with capital DS. Schaeffer was committed to making sure Maximoff was depicted as a fully realized character in the series, including showing aspects of her that had not been seen much previously, such as her joy and humor. A great concern for Schaeffer, Livanos, and the writers was avoiding a portrayal of Maximoff that made her seem crazy or out of control, as some of her comic book appearances have done, and Schaeffer hoped the series would give a nuanced portrayal of a very complicated woman. The series explores how Maximoff grew up in an Eastern European country and relied on black market American products, such as television, with her father selling DVD of American sitcoms, which helped form Maximoff's love of them. The series also introduces the organization SWORD to the MCU. Schaeffer explained that its name was changed from Sentient World Observation and Response Department as it is in the comic books to Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division due to the organization in the MCU dealing with sentient weapons, such as reconstructing the original Vision with the goal of making it a sentient weapon. Maximoff and Vision's sons Billy and Tommy were introduced in the series. They are 10 years old for much of the series, with Shakman saying it was never planned to age them up more to an age that would have resembled when they are part of the Young Avengers team in the comics, since it would have deprived Maximoff of even more time with them. Casting. With the official announcement of the series in April 2019 came confirmation that Olsen and Bettany would reprise their roles of Maximoff and Vision, respectively, in the series. Bettany agreed to join the project after meeting with Phage and Despacito, who pitched an exciting and bonkers idea for his character's return in the series. Olsen was originally nervous with Marvel's move to television and how it could connect with the films, but was excited when she learned of Schaeffer's involvement as well as the comic book storylines that inspired the series. Teyonah Parris was revealed as cast in the role of Monica Rambeau in July 2019. Rambeau was introduced to the MCU as an 11-year-old in Captain Marvel, which is set in 1995. Akira Akbar portrayed the character in that film. A month later, at Disney's biennial convention D23, Kat Dennings and Randall Park were set to reprise their respective MCU film roles as Darcy Lewis and Jimmy Woo. Dennings previously appeared in the films Thor, 2011, and Thor: The Dark World, 2013, and was surprised and thrilled to be brought back to the MCU for WandaVision after so many years. Park joined the series following a general meeting with Marvel to discuss Woo's future in the MCU following his introduction in Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2018. Schaeffer felt it was fun to feature Dennings and Park in the series, since both were veteran sitcom actors, previously starring in Two Broke Girls and Fresh Off the Boat, respectively. Also at D23, Kathryn Hahn was announced as cast in the role of Agnes, Wanda and Vision's neighbor. The series' 7th episode reveals that Agnes is actually Agatha Harkness. The series' official trailer revealed that Fred Melamed and Debra Jo Rupp would appear in the series, portraying Todd and Sharon Davis. They appear as Maximoff and Vision's neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Hart, within the fictional WandaVision program. Rupp previously had a long-running role in the sitcom That 70s Show and was comfortable with WandaVision's sitcom style. She was asked to join the series by Shakman, who she had worked with at the Geffen Playhouse, where Shakman is the artistic director. Similarly, Shakman and Schaeffer offered Melamed the role without him auditioning, who accepted the role because the idea of the series was interesting to him. The series' 5th episode introduces Evan Peters as Ralph Boner, a recast Pietro Maximoff, Wanda's brother. Pietro was previously portrayed in the MCU by Aaron Taylor Johnson, while Peters played a different version of the character named Peter Maximoff in 20th Century Fox's X-Men film series.
Schaeffer revealed that it took a while to learn if Peters would be able to be a part of the series, and noted the creatives did not have a secondary plan if they were not able to use him. Emma Caulfield Ford was cast in October 2019 as Sarah Proctor, who plays Dottie Jones, after being approached by Schaeffer to audition for the role. They previously worked together on the film Timer, 2009. Ford said she was cast in part to help attract genre fans, who would have recognized her from starring in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and was intended to be one of the series' red herrings. Asif Ali was revealed to be cast in the series in October 2020, as Abhilash Tandon, who plays Vision's co-worker, Norm, as was Jolene Purdy, who was cast as Isabel Matsuda, who plays Beverly, Wanda and Vision's neighbor. Design. Costume designer Maze C. Rubio said it was rare for a singular piece of media to progress through so many different decades without its characters aging. Olsen enjoyed exploring how women were viewed in society in each decade through Maximoff's costumes. The suit and wedding dress worn by Vision and Maximoff in the opening titles were both made for the series, with the dress created as an homage to Audrey Hepburn. With the series shifting from black and white to color, the various designers worked together to ensure a unified look for the characters and sets. Production designer Mark Worthington said his team learned how different colors work in a black and white format. Prop designer Russell Bobbitt previously worked on the film Pleasantville, 1998, which Shakman said the series had a spiritual connection to, along with The Truman Show, 1998. Hairstylist Karen Bartek created 22 wigs for the series to represent the different eras. The series end credits features swarms of LED-style glowing lights forming into constructs from the show that is reminiscent of the art style in House of M. Charles Pulliam Murati 09 felt the credits were undeniably Marvel in the big screen sense, even though WandaVision was embracing its identity as a streaming miniseries. Many of the series' opening sequences for the WandaVision sitcom were created by Perception. Shakman said a lot of work went into creating each opening to be authentic to each era as possible because the creatives knew that they were a key part of the storytelling. Filming began in early November 2019 at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, with Shakman directing and Jess Hall serving as cinematographer. The series was filmed under the working title Big Red. Filming was previously reported to begin on September 21 in Los Angeles, California. Bettany felt the approach to the series was very clever given it had to make 6 hours of content on a budget similar to a 2.5-hour MCU film. This included filming content from different episodes at the same time, which was possible since Shakman directed all of the episodes. Shakman did try to shoot things chronologically to aid the actors with the progression through various sitcom eras. The actors were shown episodes of past sitcoms before filming to help them capture the spirit of each tone and style, since the approach to comedy is different in each decade. Dialect coach Courtney Young helped the actors sound and move like people from each era, with Olsen saying the manners of each decade were noted. The first episode of the series filmed for 2 days in black and white, and had a live studio audience present, to mimic sitcom filming. Olsen had previously indicated that there were discussions regarding whether the series would also use a laugh track. For episodes with a laugh track that was not recorded live, the series worked with an expert to explain how laugh tracks changed throughout time, which helped inform the sound design. When shooting scenes in black and white, Bettany was painted blue, rather than Vision's maroon color, since the blue appeared better in the grayscale image. Additionally, Olsen used a pinker shade of foundation and a robin's egg blue-green eyeshadow to help create a natural look for filming in black and white. Both Olsen and Bettany found the experience of the premiere to be surreal and unique. A 4:3 aspect ratio is also used for the black and white scenes. Shakman enjoyed being able to experiment with the aspect ratio, having it be directly related to the narrative. Various other aspect ratios are used when the series progresses through the sitcom decades, with the scenes set outside the hex using the traditional 2:40:1 cinematic ratio of many MCU films. Other period-specific touches were done in each episode, such as period-appropriate camera lenses and lighting and live special effects. Shakman wanted to ensure the sitcom elements never felt like a parody, but were as authentic as possible, since they were creating these worlds that Wanda has created to escape her grief and were real to her. Hall worked with a Alexa 4K HDR cameras, and used 47 different camera lenses for the 7 time periods covered in WandaVision, many of which were modern lenses custom modified to keep characteristics of the actual period lenses. The custom period-appropriate lenses were used on the first 3 episodes, along with the 5th, while Hall used the Ultra Panatta lenses, which had been used on Avengers, Infinity War, and Avengers, Endgame, for all of the scenes outside the Hex reality. As for lighting, tungsten lights were mainly used for the 1950s to the 1970s episodes, as those were the lights of the era, with LED lighting being used starting in the 2000s episodes, as Hall explained that was the correct timeline for when this equipment entered the filmmaking vocabulary. After the first 2 episodes mainly reference the Dick Van Dyke Show and Bewitched, respectively, further episodes have multiple sitcom homages in them, such as the 3rd referencing both Good Times and The Brady Bunch, alluding to how television's popularity grew throughout the years, eventually emulating the talk-to-the-camera, shaky camera, documentary style of some modern sitcoms. Shakman used lenses, lighting, and sound design to change the mood for moments when something goes wrong with Maximoff's illusion, inspired by The Twilight Zone. He felt the transition to these moments from the sitcom scenes was very dramatic. Location shooting took place in the Atlanta metropolitan area throughout December 2019 and February 2020. A filming wrap party for the series occurred on March 1, ahead of a planned 4-week hiatus, but all production halted on March 14 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Filming resumed in Los Angeles in September 2020 with rigorous COVID-19 safety protocols in place to complete the backlot and outside filming necessary for the series. Olsen found it hard resuming production after being isolated during the shutdown, while Bettany disliked that the safety protocols meant the actors had to return to their trailers when not filming, which he felt removed much of the camaraderie between the cast and crew. Filming took place on Blondie Street at the Warner Bros. Ranch in Burbank, California, where past sitcoms had also been filmed. Shakman felt the Blondie Street backlot had that weird sense of fakeness that no real-life street could replicate. Filming at the Golden Oak Ranch also occurred. Production on the series wrapped by mid-November, with Olsen shooting back-to-back with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Post-production. During the production shutdown, Shakman began editing what had already been filmed and was able to polish it up before filming resumed. This informed him of how to approach a few things in a different way, but the series was not creatively altered. Tim Roch, Dean Baker, and Nona Kodai served as editors. In the first 3 episodes, film cuts and rewind effects were employed to go along with the practical effects shot. Visual effects supervisor Tara DeMarco said contemporary visual effects were used to remove wires and smooth the cuts, and occasionally to create wire gags that were not filmed practically. Post-production work on existing footage continued after filming resumed, and Shakman said working on every step of the process at once felt schizophrenic. In some episodes, the aspect ratio shifts within a scene. This was completed in post-production in order for Shakman to dictate the length and rate at which the ratios shift. Bettany estimated that the series had more visual effects shots than the 2,496 in Avengers, Endgame. Visual effects for WandaVision were created by Digital Domain, Framestore, Industrial Light and Magic, Lola VFX, Monsters Aliens Robots Zombies, Rise, Rodeo FX, SSVFX, The Yard VFX, and Zoic Studios. Music. In January 2020, Christopher Beck announced that he would compose the score for the series, after previously scoring Ant-Man 2015 and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Beck paid homage to the sitcoms in each time period through his instrumentation, compositional style, and period-specific recording and mixing techniques. Earlier episodes feature small orchestral ensembles, with later episodes having more of a rock-pop style, and the music becoming more pervasive as the series progresses. Beck had hoped to match the spotting of each sitcom era as well, but found that this would not always work due to modern audiences expecting more music than older sitcoms would have included. Michael Parris and Alex Kovacs co-composed the series' music, with Kovacs hired due to his experience with older orchestration techniques and jazz music, which Beck found helpful when writing for the series' early episodes. Beck was more comfortable once the episodes required music inspired by the 1980s and 1990s to connect the music for the different sitcom eras, as well as the more traditional music for outside the sitcom reality. Beck composed several themes that are used in the different styles, which was possible since he knew where the series and characters were going from the beginning. Beck was most excited for the opportunity to write a definitive theme for Wanda that is heard during the series' end credits, which he hoped other composers would also use for the character's future MCU appearances. Beck also wrote a love theme for Wanda and Vision that he said would convey feelings of love, tragedy, and sadness, which he compared to the romance music he composed for the series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In December 2020, Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez were announced to have written theme songs for some of the series episodes. They were approached for the series in mid-2019 by Shakman, who was friends with Lopez at college, and they had previously worked with Beck on the music for Disney's Frozen franchise. To help sell the series to the couple, Shakman referenced the Adult Swim short Too Many Cooks, which the couple were aware of, and called one of their favorite sketches. The couple were inspired by the theme songs from past sitcoms as well as the music from James Bond films, composer Burt Bacharach, and jazz pianist and composer Dave Brubeck. In order to tie their themes together, Lopez and Anderson Lopez created a 4-note motif that worked in each of the theme song styles. The first 2 notes of the motif are a major octave, and the last 2 are a tritone, which is also known as the Devil's Interval. This was their way of saying musically that the series was a big bright-colored swing while also being really unsettling. Lopez described the motif as kind of like the WandaVision call-out, easily identifiable in some way in each song, that was incorporated in different ways each time. The pair used their knowledge of sitcoms from watching them as they grew up, and found the 1990s to be the most challenging era to write a theme song for due to them both being at college during that decade when they did not have a television, while the 1980s was their favorite. Anderson Lopez added that it was challenging to ensure the themes were not parodying any one show but would evoke all of the iconic songs from an entire decade and be their own thing. She also felt it was their job with the theme songs to establish the tone, place, and time of the episodes in lieu of title cards providing such information. The couple also sang on many of the theme songs, something they normally do not do for the final versions of their songs, which Anderson Lopez attributed in part to the pandemic. They were joined by a group of backup singers. Beck completed work on the series score in February 2021. Soundtrack albums for each episode, including Beck's score and the theme songs by Lopez and Anderson Lopez, were released digitally by Marvel Music and Hollywood Records from January 22 to March 12, 2021, 1 week after each episode premieres. One of the theme songs, Agatha All Along, went viral after appearing in Breaking the Fourth Wall, peaking at number 1 on iTunes soundtrack chart, and reaching 5th on iTunes Top 100 Singles chart. It also debuted on Billboard's digital songs sales chart at 36. Marketing. At the 2019 D23, a teaser for the series was shown that combined footage of Maximoff and Vision from previous MCU films with images from old sitcom television series The Dick Van Dyke Show and Father Knows Best. The series was promoted as part of Expanding the Universe, a Marvel Studios special that debuted on Disney Plus on November 12, 2019. In December, Phage debuted the first image from the series at Comic-Con Experience. Vinnie Mancuso of Collider said it was very interesting, highlighting the old-school black and white coloring. A commercial for the series and fellow Marvel Studios Disney Plus series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki was shown during Super Bowl LIV. In Versus Days, Johnston found visual references to past sitcoms in the commercial, including The Dick Van Dyke Show, Leave It to Beaver, Bewitched, The Brady Bunch, Roseanne, and Full House. They thought the series would be a must-see for Marvel fans as well as anyone looking for a hit of nostalgia. The era-spanning framework means anyone can relive the shows of their childhood. Julia Alexander of The Verge said the footage wasn't much but offered enough glimpses to tease fans. Hayley Fouch at Collider felt of all the Super Bowl commercials, Marvel's stole the whole show. She was most excited by the utterly strange and unpredictable looking WandaVision footage. The series official trailer was released on September 20, 2020, during the 72nd Primetime Emmy Awards. The trailer received 55.7 million online views within 24 hours, including 36.1 million on YouTube, 4.9 million on Facebook, and 10.1 million on Instagram, which was believed to be the highest number ever for a streaming service's television series trailer. WandaVision also had over 302,600 social mentions, trending on Twitter immediately after a teaser aired during the Emmy Awards ahead of the full trailer's release, and ultimately trending fourth on Twitter. The trailer was the number 2 trending video on YouTube. Ethan Anderton from /Film said the footage in the trailer looked like one of the most trippy Marvel projects to date. He also noted more light-hearted aspects of the trailer, such as Vision wearing a Halloween costume of the character's comic book design. Matt Patches at Polygon called the trailer a hoot, full of bright colors and odd behavior, adding that it still left much of the series a mystery. Comic book resources Noah Domings said the trailer offers quite a bit in terms of content, with a vivid look at some of the visual tricks on display. Charles Pulliam Moore of EO9 called the trailer's use of Twilight Time by the Platters the most haunting of all of its strange features, and felt the trailer's editing created the effect of rapidly flipping through television channels in search of something good to watch. The Hollywood Reporter's Richard Newby described the trailer as jam-packed with information and felt that it gives fans quite a lot to look forward to, as well as some mysteries to ponder over leading up to the premiere. After actors from past Spider-Man films were revealed to be appearing in Spider-Man: No Way Home, Graham McMillan of The Hollywood Reporter saw the series' official trailer in a new light, suggesting the different versions of Maximoff and Vision that appear in the series were because of Maximoff breaking down walls between different realities, which could set up Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man: No Way Home. In early December, 6 posters for the series were released daily, each depicting a decade from the 1950s through the 2000s. Pulliam Moore noted that with each new poster, different elements shift and morph, both reflecting the passage of time and WandaVision's plot developments. The release of the posters was followed by a new trailer that debuted at Disney's Investors Day presentation. Anderton noted for Film that the trailer featured more non-sitcom inspired footage than previously seen, with a lot to soak in. Chaim Gartenberg at The Verge called the new trailer mind-bending, while Tom Riedemann of Collider described it as delightfully weird and drew comparisons to the House of M comic book storyline. Tony Sokol at Den of Geek highlighted the trailer's use of the Monkees song Daydream Believer, believing the title and lyrics reflected Maximoff's state well, though he noted that the music becomes barely recognizable under increasing layers of psychedelic weirdness. The trailer received 9 million views on YouTube. The first 2 episodes of the series Marvel Studios' Legends, released on January 8, 2021, explore Maximoff and Vision using footage from their MCU film appearances. Disney's marketing team conceived its campaign for the series roughly a year and a half before its release. Including the aforementioned trailers, its outdoor, digital, television, and magazine cover advertisements yielded 2.14 billion impressions. Analytics firm RelishMix determined the social reach for the series within its social media universe was 263,000, which was light years ahead of most streaming shows. The various trailers, ads, and interviews posted to YouTube garnered the most awareness and engagement for WandaVision, with RelishMix noting that content posted to Marvel, Disney, and Disney Plus' official channels was then reposted on fan channels. Leading up to, and including, the series premiere date, advertisements, special look stunt interstitials, co-branded takeovers, on-air graphic integrations, in-show integrations, and custom talent content appeared on the various channels and assets of Walt Disney Television, ESPN, and Hulu, while billboards were seen in major cities such as New York and Los Angeles. The series' Instagram account created a never-before-done, reality-bending grid that updates on its own, while custom emojis on Twitter updated each week as WandaVision progresses through the decades. Talent and influencers were sent a TV dinner box that had a custom TV tray, utensil set, coasters, drinking glasses, and a custom journal designed to look like a vintage TV guide. In January 2021, Marvel announced their Marvel Must-Haves program, which revealed new toys, games, books, apparel, home decor, and other merchandise related to each episode of WandaVision each Monday from January 18 to March 8, 2021. From late February 2021 until the series concluded in early March, Marvel partnered with chef Justin Warner to release recipes for food featured in, or inspired by, each episode. Release: WandaVision premiered on Disney Plus on January 15, 2021, with the release of its first 2 episodes. The other 7 episodes released weekly until March 5. Marvel Studios originally planned to release the first 3 episodes simultaneously, but decided against it when it was realized the final episode would not be completed in time to stick to a weekly schedule. Marvel Studios also considered releasing the entire season at once, but chose weekly releases after seeing the fun of week-to-week provided by the Disney Plus Star Wars series The Mandalorian. Feige said the episodes were built with the weekly release in mind, so the audience could try to guess what happens next, to have a week speculating or rewatching and building that anticipation. He felt binge-watching the series after all the episodes were released would be an equally fun experience. The first 2 episodes were initially listed as Episode 1 and Episode 2 on Disney+, with their actual title revealed a few days after their release. Though it ran Film originally assumed all the episodes would be untitled, and wondered if the titles were being withheld upon release to avoid spoilers, despite not finding the first 2 titles to be particularly revealing. Shakman said the series was able to premiere so soon after filming completed due to post-production work beginning during the series' COVID-19 production shutdown. Schaeffer felt the series was suited to being released during this moment in time, amidst the pandemic, because it is a reflection of a lot of the anxiety that we're feeling, and a lot of the pathos and chaos of 2020, so it feels very right to me. Esquire's Matt Miller felt WandaVision had incredible timing with its release, since much of the audience was collectively escaping to nostalgia to cope with a pandemic and the general chaos of the real world, similarly to what Wanda was doing within the Westview reality, and said the series was commenting on the very nature and purpose of consuming comic book entertainment. The series was originally announced as releasing in early 2021, before being moved forward to a December 2020 release in February 2020. It was then moved back to the early 2021 slot in November 2020. It is the first series in, and the start of, Phase 4 of the MCU. Reception. Audience viewership. Nielsen Media Research, who measure the number of minutes watched by United States audiences on television sets, listed WandaVision as the 6th most watched original series across streaming services for the week of January 11-17, 2021, with 434 million minutes viewed. This is around 6.48 million complete views of the series' first 2 episodes, which is more complete views than the series on Nielsen's top 10 original series list, which had more minutes viewed but longer runtimes available. According to analytics provider T-Vision, WandaVision was the most viewed title of January 2021 across measured platforms. The series had an 8,127 indexed audience size, which was 81 times more views than the average series measured by the service. T-Vision determines viewing impressions by counting its 14,000 viewers on connected televisions, who have watched one of nearly 25,000 titles for at least 2 minutes within a session of watching content for at least 5 minutes, across all major US streaming and advertising video on-demand services. Critical response. The review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported a 91% approval rating with an average rating of 7.93/10, based on 171 reviews. The site's critical consensus reads, part loving homage to TV history, part of kilter mystery, WandaVision is a wonderfully weird and strikingly bold step into the small screen for the MCU and a perfect showcase for Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned a score of 77 out of 100 based on 40 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. TV Line's Rebecca Iannucci gave the first 3 episodes an A, calling them an intriguing, fresh, genuinely delightful deviation from what we've come to expect, and praising the performances of the cast, specifically Olsen. She did question if the series would have been better suited releasing its episodes all at once as opposed to weekly, giving the series an A. Sam Barsanti at the AV Club called WandaVision the ultimate expression of the MCU potential to tell new kinds of stories, and a series with the potential to be a riveting part of the MCU. Calling WandaVision Marvel's oddest series to date, Daniel Feinberg of The Hollywood Reporter said it was not weirder than Guardians of the Galaxy, but was creatively courageous to give a postmodern exploration of sitcom conventions to an audience expecting snazzy suits and explosions. Feinberg likened the series to meta sitcoms Get a Life and That's My Bush, rather than a traditional comic book series, and called it Marvel's version of Too Many Cooks. The shift between each decade in the episodes was simply remarkable, to Liz Shannon Miller of Collider. Miller praised Olsen and Bettany, and said Hahn was too good for mere words to encompass. Awarding the series an A, Miller concluded that the MCU had not featured this level of experimentation before, and the series was actually daring to really challenge the viewer. Caroline Frank, in her review for Variety, called WandaVision an admirably weird introduction to the new age of Marvel TV, but felt it could be confusing to casual MCU viewers as well as fans of the sitcoms that inspired it. Frank also did not find any of the episodes particularly funny, and felt the series' best moments were when Maximoff and Vision were shown to not belong in their reality. Roxana Haddadi at RogerEbert.com said it was difficult to tell where the series would go from the first 3 episodes, but she felt Maximoff and Vision were being sidelined in favor of the allusions to past sitcoms, and also that there was no sense of narrative stakes due to the series taking place within the larger narrative of the MCU. Dominic Patton of Deadline Hollywood was also critical of the series, calling it tiresome and a baby boomer punchline in search of a joke. Patton believed WandaVision was a step backwards for Marvel television series, believing that Marvel's Netflix series and ABC Agents of SHIELD were better, and he added the series to his list of times Marvel had gotten it wrong. Discussing the entire series, Rolling Stone's Alan Sepinwall said WandaVision was terrific and clever in how it used narrative form to serve emotional function, despite feeling the final episode was underwhelming and a tremendous start to Marvel Studios' television series. Chancellor Agard at Entertainment Weekly gave the series a B+, enjoying it because many of the speculated elements did not materialize in the series. Instead, WandaVision explored grief while also making Maximoff a fully fleshed out character. Agard also enjoyed the various sitcom homages and the theme songs composed by Anderson Lopez and Lopez in the first 8 episodes, which in his view, helped outweigh the content of the final episode. Michael Phillips, writing for the Chicago Tribune, was critical of the first 3 episodes, calling them interestingly bad and criticizing the use of sitcom tropes such as canned and deadly laugh tracks. He also felt that 1 episode's worth of story was stretched out over the first 3. Phillips was not as keen on the final 2 episodes, though episodes 4 through 7 were better received by him given the sitcom elements were better fits for Olsen and Bettany. He added the appearances of Dennings and Park in these episodes helped lighten the load, though the storytelling ultimately became a pretty stimulating blend of fan service and gentle, often moving subversion. Analysis. After the first 3 episodes, The Hollywood Reporter's Richard Newby pointed out that hexagons were a recurring motif in the series, with hex meaning both 6 in Greek and witchcraft in German, and how both of those terms were prevalent in the early episodes. Julia Alexander, writing for The Verge, also took notice of the hexagons recurring throughout, agreeing with Newby's assessment. Speaking to the pacing and content of the first 3 episodes, William Hughes of the AV Club said while the premise of the series, Marvel's take on a mystery box show, was fantastic, it also sits in direct opposition to the MCU ethos, which can tolerate a mystery for exactly as long as it takes its fanciest audience member to start to squirm. To withhold information, to withhold anything, is counter to what turned these films into a pop culture institution, and that necessity to provide gives WandaVision the sense of a show being pulled in even more directions than its already bifurcated premise might suggest. One of the more distracting elements according to Hughes was the shift in these episodes from the multi-camera sitcom to close-up single-camera shots, indicating a break in Wanda's reality, and the series' lack of subtlety to its teases, which often distract from the legitimately wonderful work its leads are doing in their homage to classic comedy styles. Miles Surrey, writing for The Ringer, disagreed with Hughes, thinking the series understood the expectations of the audience by not stretching out the mystery elements that much of the audience was probably deducing as seen with the 4th episode. Surrey added that WandaVision isn't really trying to hide what it's about, but that works to the show's advantage. The series is getting better and way creepier the more it draws the curtain, paving the way for Marvel to make a concerted effort to dabble with horror, at least by the MCU standards. Charles Pulliam Moore called the series a quirky character study for Vision, since the series has allowed him to inhabit his identities as a hero, a goofball, and a loving husband, wrapped in the construct of an American sitcom. Pulliam Moore was particularly fascinated by Vision becoming a father, given he toils at a job he doesn't understand, checks when things go bump in the night, and does his best to take care of chores around the house before Wanda can get to them with her magic, all to ensure Wanda stays happy in their charade. He also felt the series was being purposeful with its exploration of romance and intimacy, which he felt was largely missing from superhero films. Trauma therapist Erin Qualley felt WandaVision was a positive representation of complex mental health issues in media, stating the exploration of Wanda's grief in the series made her quickly become one of the most relatable characters on television in the COVID-19 era, in which many were living with similar traumas. Qualley added, by exploring how the process of admitting weakness can become an inherent strength, Wanda's story marks a refreshing, if temporary, departure from the usual comic book formula, and enjoyed that the series was exploring a person's internal struggles that people could relate to, rather than relying on a catastrophic event or fighting villains for spectacle.
Speaking to a moment in the 8th episode when Vision likens grief to love persevering, Qualley said it was fantastic that Marvel took an earnest pause to convey this sentiment. The series' use of red herrings and elements that led to theories, many of which proved incorrect, was also widely discussed. The casting of Peters as Pietro Maximoff was one in particular, with Carlos Morales of IGN feeling using Peters in the role was a hollow move, because it simultaneously dilutes what should be an important character beat into an I know him cameo, while also opening up a well of speculation that doesn't really go anywhere. It also isn't necessary, because using the MCU version of Quicksilver as a ghost, vision or reincarnation could have added to the main thematic thread of Wanda processing her grief. Schaeffer said Peters ultimately portraying Ralph Boner was not meant to feel like a prank, and described how the casting fit into the series' larger exploration of Maximoff's grief, adding using another actor besides Peters was not going to have the same thrill, and craziness, and questions, and be as disorienting. Screen Rant's Daniel Gillespie agreed, called the casting an incredibly smart move, as it threw audiences off the scent, and helped spark theories and discussion for the series and MCU that might not have happened if another actor had been cast. Speculation also arose from using Peters that additional members of the X-Men would appear, or other actors who previously played characters from the X-Men film series. The character Dottie was another red herring in the series, with additional ones added into the sets and through visual effects. Fans and commentators also speculated about an aerospace engineer mentioned by Monica, and if the Marvel Comics villain Mephisto would appear, indicating him as the overarching villain of Phase 4. Schaeffer felt the series never presented the expectations that any of these speculations would be part of the series, but believed it delivered on the expectations and promises it did make. Accolades. Shakman received a Directors Guild of America Award nomination for the series in the category Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Movies for Television and Limited Series. Documentary Special. In February 2021, the documentary series Assembled was announced. The series' first special, Assembled, The Making of WandaVision, goes behind the scenes of the making of the series, with Schaeffer, Shakman, Olsen, Bettany, Rupp, Hahn, Parris, Park, Dennings, Peters, and additional creatives discussing the classic sitcoms that inspired it, how the crew emulated the production processes of early sitcoms, and the experience of filming in front of a live studio audience. The special was released on Disney Plus on March 12, 2021. Future. In January 2021, Schaeffer said she was unable to talk about any potential plans for a second season, but said the series would feel very complete. Feige did not rule out a second season being made, but said one was not planned, and pointed to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness instead as the continuation of the story set up in WandaVision. Shakman said there were no plans at all for a second season, and one would only be made if a specific story came about that would warrant it.